Previously, over a series of exercises, I've explored a range of Photoshop techniques, such as free transform, the Polygon Lasso, opacity, and the clone stamp. I've referenced the photographers Stezaker, Wultz and Daguerre. In this next exercise, I'm going to build on previous skills, introduce a new photographer, refine techniques, and add another tool to the inventory, color contrast. Judith Golden's photography is a good starting point for exploring strong color contrast. In her portraits, she uses double exposures to layer one image on top of another. This has the effect of both revealing and concealing people's identities. She finds inspiration in ideas from Native American rituals involving masking the face and acknowledging a universal spirit. She examines humans' connections with nature and the eternal. In Golden's Twilight series, she asked her models to pick an animal that they can relate to and then meshed it with their portraits. To respond to this work, I choose an image of the singer-songwriter Birdie and put her black and white portrait over brightly coloured birds. I make sure that the portrait images on my Google image search are both large and black and white, because the portrait elements of Golden's work is also black and white. I file open the image of Birdie and chickens, cut, paste and free transform them to the right size. I then go to image adjustments, brightness contrast, and boost the contrast to 100. Sometimes it's necessary to boost the contrast to 100 a few times to get the intensity of colour right. The contrast will make the colours vivid and the overall look of the image bolder. The opacity can be brought down to 50% to allow the chickens to be seen through. I crop the image so the edges of one layer are not visible over the top of another. Once I'm happy with the composition, I file, save as JPEG. I choose an eagle and go over the same steps. Image, adjustments, brightness contrast, boost contrast, opacity to 50%, and save. And the last version can be an ostrich. In the series Mia Explores the Elements, a young, innocent girl merges with the natural world in a variety of ways, becoming one with the universe. These photographs remind me of Arcimboldo's surreal paintings of heads made of natural objects. Brightly coloured natures are used in Golden's images. So as a response, I've chosen particular colours and content to work with. Winston Churchill and Remembrance poppies, and Taylor Schilling from Orange is the New Black, and oranges. In Winston Churchill's case, his portrait has to be put on top of the coloured poppies, because of the nature of the image format. I boost the contrast of his face to simplify it to basic shapes. I use the Polygon Lasso to select and cut a section of the poppies on the base layer, and paste it on the top layer, so that they only cover the face. I boost the colour of the poppies and then save as a JPEG. I try different variations with different poppies and coverage. With Schilling, I experiment with different portrait sizes using the transform tool. I cut and paste different shapes of oranges to mask the face. I make sure to boost the contrast to maintain that bright intensity. Another reality is a series in which Golden layers portraits of artists over their artworks to suggest multiple realities. So I decide to use a photograph of the great artist Frida Kahlo and layer it over some of her self-portrait paintings. Black Boxes is a series that deals with the theme of death and rebirth. In response, I use a black and white image of Simon and Garfunkel and overlay a brightly coloured parsley, sage, rosemary and thyme, which is also the name of their third album. For this more advanced image, I mostly use Polygon Lasso to select different parts of the portrait, cut the elements from different layers, paste them on top, lower the opacity and boost the contrast. These elements together create a double portrait in which the musicians are drowned in herbs and spices.